Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this week's video, which is my top 5 favourite things about Argentina. Let's get straight into it. I hope you enjoy. Now, before I get started, I just want to point out that I released a similar video a week and a half ago, but it wasn't really giving the kind of message I wanted to transmit and not in the tone I wanted to transmit either. So that's why I've kind of redone it a little bit. For those of you who watched that one and enjoyed it, that's fantastic. But I hope that you sort of take more from this one, essentially. In addition, that explains why I go from this to a different outfit, probably slightly different hair, different layout in the room maybe. So just to give you a bit of context there. That's also why I'm releasing this halfway through a week. It's the first time I've done that in a very long time. But it's just, I was ill this weekend and didn't have quite enough time to release it at the weekend again. So let's get into it. First thing I love about Argentina is the people. Everyone here is so lovely. I haven't met anyone who hasn't been welcoming, who hasn't been kind of interested to chat or anything like that. And that kind of goes for the people I work with and the students I work with. They're all just really lovely, all keen to have me there. I don't know whether that's sort of the excitement factor of being from the UK and having an English language speaker, like a native speaker there, or whether it's just because they are that nice. But either way, it doesn't matter. The effect on me is the same. I feel really welcomed, really as though I'm part of the school, even after just 2 months, which is great. And then even in the street or in shops and cafes, at no point have I felt as though people are grumpy, which is lovely, actually. In the UK, you might get a shop owner or a waiter who is a bit grumpy and doesn't really seem to enjoy doing their job. And I'm not saying everyone here is like that. I'm not saying everyone here seems to love what they're doing. But at the same time, no one seems to pass on any negative feelings onto you, which is fantastic. So, number 2, the desserts. They are impeccable. There's this thing called dulce de leche, which I've spoken about before. If Nutella is a hazelnut and chocolate spread, dulce de leche is like a caramel spread. It is the best thing that we have on this earth. It is so good. You can put it on toast. You can put it in these biscuity things. You can make cakes with it. You can make like creamy, moussey things with it. It is so yummy. And the Argentinians have got the knack for making this the center of their desserts. Now, they also make fantastic apple pies and lemon pies and things like that. But whenever a dessert has dulce de leche in, they make brownies with it on, with whipped cream and like custard. They make mil hojas, which is like a millefeuille kind of thing, very thin, crispy pastry with dulce de leche in the middle. They make Oreo cakes with it. They make, what's it called? Turrón de cuáquer. It's like a oaty, gooey thing. It's just fantastic. I mean, honestly, the sweet things here are so good, and it is so dangerous if you're trying to eat healthily because it's so easy. Even just like criollitos. They're these small pastry things that are really flaky, and you put dulce de leche on it, and it's like, Anyway, desserts, number 2, you can tell I love them. Okay, and number 3 is the cheap services here. You can go to the cinema for the equivalent of about £2.50. You can get a haircut for the equivalent of £7. You can get on a bus, a 40-minute bus journey for the equivalent of about 60p, which is obviously for someone coming from abroad, crazy cheap. For someone from Europe, it is astonishing. Now, it's obviously not great for people who work in those sectors. I mean, I know plumbers here get paid probably about 10% what they do in the UK. And especially in the current economy where prices are rising but wages aren't really going with it, it's probably quite tricky for some people. In fact, I know it's very tricky for some people, but for the consumer, I can't really complain. And it's such a shock to be able to eat out for cheap and to be able to get a haircut for such small amount that it's hard to not like it, I'll be honest. And I've thought of a bonus 4th thing that I love about Argentina, which is kind of linked with the first one. It's the accent here. Now, the Argentine accent is very different to the one that I'm used to.
I was taught by Spanish people or English people who learned Spanish from Spanish people. So I used to have a very Spanish Iberian accent. Now, I have no idea what I've got. I must have a mixture of 12 different countries, just because my Spanish Iberian has turned into Argentine Spanish. I'm not sure. But also, I love the sort of random little phrases and colloquialisms that people use on the day-to-day. And it's just so fun. It just feels like they're playing a bit more with the language, making their own things up, and it's fantastic. And obviously, that's what culture does. It maps a language, and a language maps a culture. So what happens to a language in different places is really interesting to see, and I just love it here.
Just before we get on to my fifth thing that I love about Argentina, bear in mind that this list of things comes from someone who is a year abroad student working in the country. I have lived here for 2.5, nearly 3 months now, and I haven't done a huge amount of traveling outside of Córdoba province. I have been for 5 or so days to Buenos Aires, and I am planning on going to several other places in Argentina before I leave. Stay tuned for some videos on travels coming up soon. So just, bear in mind that my interpretations of sort of desserts and things are very much Cordoba central. Anyway, the last thing I love about Argentina is how the outdoors is different here. Having not traveled outside of Europe for a really long time, it's very easy to sort of get used to European landscapes and European wildlife, and even just sort of the layouts of towns and cities. And it's just nice here to have kind of blocks and trees along the streets. I mean, I'm in the suburbs here, you could say, so obviously that's different to the center of town, but I also feel like even in the center of town, there are more trees along the streets and avenues than you get in European cities, which is really lovely. In addition, I've seen some fantastic wildlife. There are these owls that burrow underground, actually, that live around here, and I see one most mornings when I walk to school, which is really nice, and he sort of screeches at me. I'm not sure if he's happy to see me or otherwise, but I think that's really lovely. I've also seen a pair of hummingbirds before in the middle of town, which is crazy. I've never seen hummingbirds before in my life, so it's really, really lovely that I've been able to see them just in the middle of a city. I mean, the photos and videos I took aren't particularly fantastic because they move so quickly, but it's so fascinating. And having been out to the countryside a bit, the landscapes are stunning, and I've also, kind of linked to the birds, have seen a condor. Actually, several condors, and it is incredible. They are enormous birds, and they are super, super majestic. So yeah, it's just nice to have a different, in the same way that people are different, in the same way that the language is different, it's nice to have a different experience on sort of the city, but also countryside-y stuff as well. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, because it is the end of this video. If you have any questions about any of the things that I love about Argentina, please stick them in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Stay tuned.